Hey everybody, welcome to the Great Lakes Divide live stream on YouTube. I'm your host, Adam Biggers. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at AdamBiggers81. Excuse me while I adjust this camera here. And follow Great Lakes Divide on Twitter at GL Divide, and that's the same on Facebook as well. So today, if you're familiar with the show, we talk about Michigan football. Going to talk about some new topics, a little bit of wide receiver update. I'll field your questions, and it'll go as planned. And I'd like to thank everybody. We have like nearly 200 more new subscribers since the start of camp. I've had a few people unsubscribe when I wasn't writing, which is understandable, and then I come back, and then there's like 200 more new subscribers. We're almost at 1,100 now, so thanks to everybody who watches and supports the show and subscribes to it. I enjoy doing it, and I appreciate you guys watching. So I'm gonna get into the videos here, so I could tweet this live link. And I see Aaron Wise, hey Aaron, Leoism, Ethan, Trill City. Shane Mayeski says, the man bigs himself. Hey Shane, how you doing? Big Bubba Blue. Hey guys, thanks for joining. Give me 1 second here. I'm going to tweet the link here. And we'll get into it. There's a player availability tonight. Few big name players are scheduled. I can't tell you guys who they are, but you'll find out tonight. So I will have video. I wasn't able to go to Wednesday's availability. I had to help here in town with infield stuff. So I will be there tonight, and there will be a lot more new content this weekend on GreatLakesDivide.com. So check that out. And real quick, let me. All right. Looks like we're good to go. So if anybody wants to bring it up, I have one from the other night. It was actually last night about Joe Milton, and this one comes from. Let me scroll down. And guys, I think I want to start a hashtag now, like hashtag GL Divide or something like that, so that way it's easy. I could search for them, and it's a lot easier than having to scroll through the mentions. Some way to keep them organized. But basically, it was a question what I thought about Joe Milton, and if I was watching on Instagram Live, it was actually yesterday, Instagram Live. Khaleke Hudson and several other players had it, and Quavo from the Migos. I don't know if you guys everyone's familiar with the Migos, a rap group. They're at National Signing Day, signing on the Stars. Pretty popular, and they're friends with Jim Harbaugh now. So Quavo was actually in a contest with Joe Milton, and they were trying to hit a bucket. I couldn't tell, from the camera angles and everything. It looked to be probably about 40 or 50 yards, and they're trying to hit, like a big 50-gallon drum, either hit it or land in there. And I guess Quavo, I didn't see it. He either hit it or he landed in there. He beat Joe Milton. So, but what do I think about Joe Milton? I think that question was from Jonathan Lorman, if I'm not mistaken. So I can't find it. But what do I think of Joe Milton? I really like Joe Milton. I think if he improves his accuracy, Joe's going to be a real deal. And Michigan's got a good problem, right? And we could get into this later. I mean, all these guys can start somewhere else. They're all that good. They're all starter caliber quarterbacks. And right now, with Shea Patterson, sounds like Shea's the guy. And I've always thought that he had some competition, and going to dig in more into that to see if that was really the case. But I mean, it sounds like Brandon's pretty settled in there at number 2, and Shea's going to be the starter. So I did think there was going to be a little bit more competition, but that's kind of what I'm hearing. I'll tell you guys what I know about some wide receivers as well. So if there's any other questions, but basically back to the Milton thing, I like Joe Milton, and he throws a really nice ball. And Zach Gentry said he throws the hardest ball he's ever caught. So, William Fayu, did I say that right? First time, I don't know what this is. Just saw Michigan football. William, it's live chat. I cover Michigan football and have since 2012 and since 2014 on a full-time basis. So we sit here, I field your guys' questions, and that's basically it. And I tell you about what I've written and plug all my stuff, and then we go about our day. So it's usually pretty fun, and they go about 45 minutes. The last couple ones have gone a lot longer today. I always say I'm going to try to cap it, and that never happens. So Big Bubba Blue says Quavo and Jimmy are besties. I have a funny Quavo story if you guys, well, it's not really a Quavo story anymore, but if you guys want to hear it, I'll tell you. So I'll go ahead and start it off. So anyway, I'm watching this on Instagram Live and everything, and someone tags on Twitter and says that's Quavo Stunton. That's his handle on Twitter. And he was a standout high school quarterback. I didn't know that. So I like the Migos a little bit. They've kind of grown on me. I'm more into a little bit older stuff. I'm 36, so, I kind of a generational thing, I guess. But anyway, Migos aren't bad. So I was like, okay, I'm going to try, uh, see if this guy will talk. So I direct message him, and he direct messages me right back. And, we're having an exchange. He says he'll talk, and all of a sudden, then he says, can you do me a favor? And I'm like, okay, what is that? And he says, can you buy some gift cards and send me the PIN number? And I'm like, what? This seems kind of odd. And then I was like, no, I can't do that. And so he's like, okay, bye, never mind. And it was real rude. And I was like, okay, well, thanks for your time. Good luck at your show at LCA. They were at Little Caesars Arena with Drake in Detroit. So I was kind of taken back by that and everything. Well, I go through and I go back the next day. I get a message. So this was Wednesday, I guess, when they were at practice. Next day, yesterday, I get a message asking me to donate to a GoFundMe account, and it was from this Quavo Stunton handle, and I was like, there's no way. So anyway, I click on it. It was actually a fake account it looks exactly the same background and everything, except for there's a different letter in there. So it's a different handle, and this guy's pretending to be Quavo. And anyway, so the real Quavo wasn't a big jerk like the fake Quavo was, but for a second, because someone had tagged him in it, and he retweeted it and everything, and I thought that that was him, that he was there. And Joe Milton did retweet it and said, yeah, he did confirm Quavo beat him. So, but I did not talk to the real Quavo. Disappointment, but I tried. Anyway, anybody have any questions? Leoism says, y'all thoughts on the new recruit commitments, wide receiver and I was going to say direct tech, defensive tackle, direct TV. Ethan Lahanes says, I was watching the BTM bus tour for their Michigan visit, watching the quarterback drills. I could help but notice that Peters looks much bigger than he did last year. Yeah, Brandon's put on some strength. Brandon's in there at least solid number 2, and I always believed that there was a competition, but I'm not saying that there wasn't, but I'm not, you guys know kind of how I feel about this, that Shea wasn't going to just walk in and the job was handed to him, but Shea has certainly, I think, created a little bit of separation. And Jim Harbaugh was talking about it. He insisted that there was a quarterback race. And last year he said the same thing with Brandon Peters and Wilton Spate. That was not a race. It was always Wilton. So I don't want to say that Jim Harbaugh is playing coy on the quarterback thing, but I think he is. And I think that that's always going to be the case, regardless if there is a clear front runner. The only time he's ever said that there was a clear front runner, and it was late in camp, and it was 2015, and he said that Jake Rudock had separated himself from the rest. But Wilton Spate was there battling with him until about mid-camp, and then Jake kind of just took off. That's the only time that I've ever heard Jim Harbaugh definitively say anything like that. Now, when Wilton was a starter in 2016, he said that he had Heisman qualities. He was really high on him before the injury last year in 2017. So this year, I thought maybe it'd be different. Was there a real honest competition? I guess define competition. Is everybody going for reps? Yeah, but has Shea always been the front runner? I don't know. Now I'm beginning to maybe think that. So it was out there. A lot of you guys insisted it's Shea. I was stubborn on this topic. I do admit it. I'm not admitting that I'm wrong, though, because I don't believe that I'm wrong. I do think that Shea was pushed, but at the same time, I do think that at least going into camp, the idea was that Shea Patterson was the starter. So probably late to the party on that. Oh, well. If you guys want to know about the wide receivers, we could talk about that. Mike Zabrowski says, okay, Sean DeBoer right there. Oh, wait, I'm missing. Hold on here. Trill City, where are the picks online? What do you mean, Trill City? Brandon Walker says, just got on, but how does the offense fare against the defense in camp, especially the O-line and the receivers? Rashawn Gary said the offensive line doesn't win every rep, and when he wins a rep, they come back and they want to run it back. So he said it's much more competitive. Jim Harbaugh has said that the offensive line has taken a turn for the better. I wrote a column about a week and a half ago why there are signs that this offensive line is coming along, and you're seeing young guys come in and immediately compete. That bodes well. I mean, they're recruiting the right kind of guys, and I mean, you're not always going to get a true freshman who's ready. I know people always want to see true freshmen and get excited. Jalen Mayfield, I don't know if he's ready to start, but he's definitely there in the two deep. He's competing, rotating at both tackle spots, I believe primarily at right tackle with John Runyon Jr. Mike Zabrowski says, oh wait, Sean DeBoer, what do you think of Oliver and Nico? And guys, that's the wide receiver update I've had. I could definitely confirm that Oliver Martin and Nico Collins have been very good during camp, very consistent. Now, does that mean that they're ahead of other guys? I don't have a depth chart. I wasn't given a pecking order, so I'm not going to say that they're ahead of Donovan Peoples-Jones and Tariq Black. Grant Perry's also been pretty good, but Nico and Oliver have definitely stood out, and those are two guys to take notice of. That I can definitely confirm. Mike Zabrowski says, "Sup, Adam? With everyone raving on how strong Milton's arm is there accuracy issues, or are they just trying to hold him back a year since Shea is here?" I mean, I don't think they're just going to throw him in. I think Milton could use a year of college. I mean, because arm strength can only get you so far, and I mean, you can have the strongest arm in the world. That just means that your ball and throw real hard. That just means your interceptions and incomplete passes are getting there quicker, right? So I do think that they want. I mean, based on the film that I've seen, I would say the accuracy is probably one of the things that they're working with him on. You know, there's probably finer techniques that a quarterback coach and Jim Harbaugh, they're working on with him. But as far as like Pep Hamilton, but as far as what I can see, accuracy I think is the only issue. And statistically, because I think he his senior year he completed like 43% of his passes or something. Like he didn't have a great he did not have a great completion percentage. Hold on. Leo Esm said defensive back coach seems very high on Brandon Watson, grouping him with David Long and Lavert Hill. What has changed for him to be so high on him? I assume you're talking about Mike Zordich. Mike Zordich called him out last year. And Brandon Watson's a guy I think that people haven't really been talking about. I mean, he played a lot last year. He's going to factor in there. Michigan's got a strong rotation of defensive backs, the safety position in the corners. Obviously, David and Lavert at the corners. And I'm thinking, Tyree and Josh Metellus, maybe Brandon Watson and Josh Metellus at the safety spots. Brad Hawkins has been a guy who's been mentioned. Jalen Kelly Powell's had a pretty good camp. Don Brown mentioned that he maybe took the biggest leap of any defensive back. Overall, defensively, Brown said that Brad Hawkins had taken one of the biggest leaps as well. So, what are you guys talking about with Ben St. Juste and Miles Sims? Are the tallest corners? I think St. Juste is. Yeah, Leo Esm says he's 6'3". Not Wat. Yeah, Brandon Watson's not 6'3". Brandon Watson's like 5'11", 6 foot. Matter of fact, I'll tell you exactly right now. 5'11", 204 pounds. Brandon Watson. Ben St. Juste, 6'3", 196. Aaron Wise says, oh, and Andy Peggs, Devin Gill, or Josh Ross linebackers. Devin Gill will probably take Mike McCray's old spot. And Devin Bush was cross-training Josh Ross at the Mike position. Aaron Wise says, like Brandon P., but he doesn't rally the team like Shea can. When you watch the highlights, he's exciting. That's what U of M has been missing. Sets the tempo for the rest of the team. James Horton says, hey, Biggs, did you catch cornerback coach slip up and day? Hold on, I can't read today. James Horton says, hey, Biggs, did you catch cornerback coach slip up and say Notre Dame coaches mobile like ours? In other words, Shea is our quarterback. Yeah, I did. Someone pointed out to me on Twitter, and that credit Angelique from the Detroit News for asking that question. She knows how to do it. Yeah, it sounds like someone. It was Wesley Weber actually. Wesley watches the show. Wes, if you're watching, hi. If you're watching later, hello again. Um, he tweeted a cat out of the bag to me. It was pretty funny. Big Bubba Blue says, I'm thinking Sims a freshman. What? Who's 6'3"? Miles Sims? 6'3", 183 pounds. Devin Taylor, anything on Donovan Jeter? Not much. I mean, he was briefly mentioned. I think he's on the outside looking in when it comes to the too deep on the defensive line. Greg Ryan says, hope I'm not too late. Finally got in while I'm off of work. Thanks for joining, Greg. Mike Zabrowski says, did you hear exactly why McDoom transferred? I heard nothing that I'm going to repeat because I can't definitely confirm it. So, I mean, transfers happen, guys, and I think, you can logically assume a few different scenarios. I can tell you it's not anything bad, but I mean, it's not like he had any discipline issues or, any academic issues or anything like that. I just think that it was a crowded house. Is what I think. Ethan Lahinas wants to know, does Michigan have the safety spots figured out yet? Ethan, I talked about safety just a second ago. I mean, I don't know. I'd imagine they're through like 12 practices now. I'd imagine that they have a pretty good idea. I mean, Notre Dame's 2.5 weeks away. I imagine that they have a pretty good idea of, who's who and who's going to do what. So as far, I mean, like if you ask me, like I said, I mean, I think Brandon Watson, Josh Metellus are two guys that come to mind immediately. Brad Hawkins as well, Jalen Kelly Powell. I think those four guys. RJ Booker, any word on the third string running back? Hold on, guys. I have a couple more. I'll try to get them. If I miss your question, just submit it again. I'll try to get to it, and I'm going to check Twitter in a second to see if we have any. And if you don't already, follow me on Twitter at AdamBiggers81. Any word on the third string running back? It's not a third string by definition. Jay Harbaugh talked about this about a week and a half ago. It's a 1-1 punch with Karan and Chris. So the third string, True Wilson. And that was brought up by Aaron McMahon of MLive.com. He asked if True was the third guy, and Jay explained it's 1-1. So True is number 2, but there's 3 of them. So True Wilson. I also heard some good things about Christian Turner. I don't know if he's necessarily number 3, but I heard that he's had some good practices and he's really explosive. But I would imagine it's True. But with Chris and Karan and then Ben Mason at fullback, I don't think you really have to worry too much beyond Chris and Karan. J.M. Coney 64 says, who do you believe the captain should be and why? Oh, that's a good question. Let me think about that. Because I don't think Chase Winovich, obviously, is one that immediately comes to mind. Yeah, I would say Chase. I mean, how many captains you want? You want offensive and defensive? You want 2 on each side? Let me know. I'll go back to it. Chase Winovich is definitely one of them, though. RJ Booker says anywhere. Okay, that one. Big Bubba Blue says I want to see Omari Samuels at the 3rd spot. Andrew Valancourt of the Wolverine asked Jay Harbaugh about Omari Samuels, and Jay just kind of gave him a basic answer, said that he made strides. So, nothing that I would take any more than that. Leo has a mini update on Omari Samuel. Seems like he was heading into that 3rd running back spot, but now True Wilson and Christian Turner seems to be there. Samuel's got some clock last year. Yeah, I think True Wilson, and again, I mean, I don't know if Christian Turner's there. I mean, Christian Turner has been mentioned for his playmaking ability, and he's really shifty. But I mean, I had just mentioned. I mean, I'm not sure if he's right there with True or not. But from what I understand, Karan, Chris, 1-1, True. as that third option. Big Bubba Blue said Winovich and Bredesen should be captains. Ben was one that I was thinking on offense. He's definitely got that captain-like aura about him. The way that he talks, the way he handles himself. I've always liked Ben. So yeah, I mean Ben's a good candidate. I could see him definitely. I mean he's been the leader of the offensive line. He's definitely taking that seriously. And guys, if you check on the YouTube channel, what you're watching right now, has some videos. Ben Bredesen asked him about the offensive line last week. There's all kinds of videos on there. There'll be more up tonight and tomorrow. Bredesen is not a senior though, is he? No, he's a junior. But he's one of those guys who, he's one of those guys that just acts the part. I mean, if you can't, I would assume, and I think a lot of people would, if they met Ben Bredesen, they'd say, "Oh, this guy's got to be a senior. The way that he carries himself, the way that he speaks." Cameron Clark says usually Michigan under Harbaugh had two captains. Right, I was just saying for what his scenario. What does he want? I mean, you guys want two captains? Chase and Ben. Chase Winovich definitely. Greg Ryan says Winovich and Higdon. Higdon's another good one. I'm gonna go to Twitter real fast, see if there's any questions. And no, there are not. Just some standard tweetbacks. Guys, if you follow me on Twitter, I don't try to be a jerk. I just really like stupid trolling. If you're gonna troll, put some thought into it. If you're gonna, attempt to try to rip apart what somebody says, make sure you have some good, some good ammunition. And it's funny. I love reading these replies. I reply to some of it, and I go back and read some of them. I'm like, man, it kind of sounded like a prick. I don't always mean to, but I just don't deal with stupid very well. So I mean, if it's not logical, if it's not something that's not fueled by just some unruly fan bias or because you hate Ohio State or you hate Michigan or you hate Michigan State, there's got to be something deeper than that. If it's not a discussion, and if you want to troll me, that kind of stuff, sometimes my fingers get a little loose. So I apologize. And if you're watching and you are one of those people, I apologize. But like I said, I like to have a constructive discussion, not trolling with, stupid stuff. Someone was talking about, I tweeted about the wide receivers and this is going to be a good group. And they came back and said, okay, well, this guy played this many games, X, Y, and Z. All right, I get it. And I said, well, they're still good because they're competing for a spot. They're doing well in camp. And I say there's different levels of good. And then come back with something, good, like 8 wins. I mean, what does Michigan's 8-5 record have anything to do with what I just said? So that's textbook stupid trolling. Don't be that guy. Leo has said, Mike Zabrowski, I go on these little rants and miss it, guys. I'm sorry. If I missed your question, resubmit it. Mike Zabrowski, Mike usually has pretty good ones. He says, do you feel as though what Sherrod Moore said was true as far as no egos with not having an offensive coordinator? Is this just making people feel better about the situation? I wasn't there, Mike, so I didn't, and I should have gone. But I did ask Jay Harbaugh if they plan on labeling an offensive coordinator. I mean, I don't know if it's like a no egos thing. I imagine it's just going to be by committee. If they don't slap a proper label on it, then so be it. But it's going to be by committee, and I do believe that they're full anyway. So I mean, they're not going to bring in an offensive coordinator. And as far as sharing the duties, I don't know exactly how that goes because you have so many labels, and I wonder if you're allowed so many labels. Either way, I mean, they have Jim McElwain, Sherrod Moore, Dave Warner was an offensive coordinator at Ohio State. You have Jim Harbaugh, Pep Hamilton. I mean, right there, that's the Jay Harbaugh. You have a lot of minds who are going to have a lot of input when it comes to the offense. So is that too many cooks in the kitchen, though? That brings up the counterplay. Is that too many cooks in the kitchen? Do you need the one guy? Does that settle the issue? But at the end of the day, and Jim Harbaugh's been asked about this a few times. I've asked him. Other people have asked him. At the end of the day, Jim Harbaugh has the final say on the offensive play calling. At least he did last year, and I don't imagine that he's, you know, going to give up that sort of control. He has the final say. Sean DeBoer says, "What do you think about Pepper's comments about Dirk? It does not look good for DJ." And guys, sometimes I could be fooled. I'd like to give people the benefit of the doubt. DJ always came across as a real nice guy. And then you read this stuff about him, and he sounds, like Dr. Jekyll, Doc, what is it, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I can't even get my comparison straight here. It's weird though to read that kind of stuff, and then you stood in front of him, you've interviewed him, and been around the way. And granted, we see the DJ Durkin, we see the media version of these people, but I mean, if you were to ask me then, in like 2015 when we were talking to DJ Durkin, you know, hey, he's gonna be implicated in this kind of stuff, it just wouldn't make sense. He didn't come across as that type of guy. So I'm surprised about Pepper's comments. They're honest comments. And obviously, it probably burns a bridge if you had one there with DJ or anybody associated with DJ. But at the same time, I do like when players come out and say things, honestly. And that I know of, I think he's the only former Michigan player that has gone on record and said anything like that. Motor City Mark says, "Do you think Mike Zordich kind of tipped the hand regarding quarterback battle? Seemed to only talk about Shea and saying our guy is mobile just like theirs when asked about Brandon Wimbush." Yeah, Motor City, yes. And again, that was Angelique with that question. She did a good job. Drew Fortier says, "Give your best guess, Adam. Say Shea wins quarterback battle. Do you see Brandon Peters transferring? What about McCaffrey?" I don't like to speculate about transfers because then it gets twisted and it says this guy says that this guy's going to transfer, and I don't think that's fair to the player. I do say this, though, and I mentioned this earlier. It's a good problem to have. Michigan has 4 really talented quarterbacks. There'll be another coming in. It's the nature of the beast, right? I mean, they can all start somewhere. I can see someone leaving. Logically. I'm not saying do I know someone's going to leave? No. Am I saying it's going to be Peters, McCaffrey, or Milton's going to leave? No. And a lot of this, does Shea plan to stay 1 year? I think people really blew that out of proportion, like he was a one and done, or 1 year rental. Just because he got drafted doesn't mean anything. I mean, it means something, but you know what I mean. It doesn't affect his eligibility. He could still play college football. He could finish his college eligibility. So, Drew, to answer your question, my best guess would be someone would leave, but I don't want to sit here and say, well, I think Dylan McCaffrey's going to transfer, or Brandon Peters is going to transfer, or Joe Milton's going to transfer, because I don't know, and that's kind of unfair to throw their name out there like that. But given what we've seen in college football, given the odds, I would not be surprised if one of 3 quarterbacks transferred. Cameron Clark says, "Harbaugh makes $8 million a year. He's got the final say on everything." You're right. JM Coney 64, do you think we'd win at Notre Dame? I'll get into predictions as it gets closer, but I mean, Notre Dame's a 3-point favorite. I mean, that's a tough road environment, but Michigan, every time they end it and then come back, Michigan has won those games. History might be on Michigan's side. Sean DeBoer says, "Peppers didn't say anything about Harbaugh, but 2 former Stanford players said that DJ and Jim are awful humans. Do you think that's going to affect Jim with the wild..." I don't know what you mean, Sean. Come again? Cameron Clark, do you think Mayfield plays? I think he's in there in the 2 deep, Cam. Yeah. I mean, he's competing. I think Jalen Mayfield will see the field this year, yes. Mike Zabrowski says, "Do you feel this is the year Michigan breaks through in the Big Ten? If so, why? If not, why?" Big Ten's really strong. Mike, I don't see Michigan winning the Big Ten. I think it's really Penn State, Ohio State, or Michigan State. I think Wisconsin's got a chance. But I mean, the East is loaded. A. So that's part of my reason. B, Michigan's got an incredibly tough schedule. But if this offensive line improves, if Shea Patterson is the guy that everybody's saying, I can see Michigan peaking as a 10-win team. But I mean, anything more than that, I think it is really just stretching it. And honestly, I think 9-3 is a fair, and that's, there's like I've mentioned this several times before. And you're opening the season against a rival, you're closing the season against a rival. Notre Dame, Ohio State, you have Michigan State, you have Penn State, you're at Northwestern, you're playing Nebraska. I mean, this is a tough schedule. Nathan Hartberger says, "How does Shea in the offense compare to Notre Dame's quarterback offense? Michigan's favored by 2.5 since Shea's eligibility will be low scoring defensive slugfest." Nathan, I've seen Notre Dame favored by 2.5 and 3. Last time I checked. Robert Protzman, how long have I been live? 30 minutes. Greg Ryan, does the O line have the same talent depth as the D line? I mean, my immediate thought would be no, because I mean, this is an elite defensive line. We're not talking about an elite offensive line. So, no. Because I can name off 5, 6 guys defensive line right now that are probably going to have big years. Michael Dwumfour, Rashawn Gary, Chase Winovich, uh, being the big three. Can you have that much confidence saying that with the Michigan's offensive line? I mean, I think because Season Ruiz and Steven Spinellis are battling for center. It sounds like Mike Onwenu might have that right guard spot down, but I mean Ben Bredesen at left guard. I think there's still a couple of variables. I believe Juwan Bushell-Beatty will be the left tackle and John Runyon Jr. will be the right tackle. That's what I believe right now, at least. So I mean, offensive line still piecing together. With the defensive line, it's like just pick some names out of a hat. I mean, and there are 3-star caliber players that I can name right now: Michael Dwumfour, Chase Winovich, and Rashawn Gary. And freshman Aiden Hutchinson behind Rashawn. Aiden might get some reps this year. He's had a pretty decent camp. He's coming along. Yeah, Ethan just mentioned that he said, "Do you think we'll see him quite a bit?" I mean, quite a bit, define quite a bit. Robert Protzman says you see Michigan favored depends on the side. Yeah, and I mean either way. I mean if Notre Dame's favored by 3 or Michigan's favored by 3, that's going to be a close game. Defense, yeah. I forgot whoever asked that question. Yeah, defensive slugfest. Yeah, when it's a 3-point swing either way, absolutely. I think. I mean just if I were to guess, this is probably like a 24-20 game, 24-21, something like that. Yeah, I haven't seen the latest line, guys, but either way, like I said, I mean, it's not going to tip too far either way. This is going to be an even, for all intents and purposes, even game. Sean DeBoer says, will Jim get backlash from basically having DJ on his staff a couple times, especially when those 2 former Stanford players called DJ and Jim awful human beings, CJ Easter and Blaze Johnson? I mean, I guess, Sean, I guess it depends on how much someone digs into this and if they can prove, that Harbaugh. I mean, this is just 2 guys. Where what? I mean, it gets tricky with that because then you're really attacking somebody's character. So I mean, if there's enough out there to prove it and reinforce this story, then yeah, I can definitely see some backlash. But I mean, Harbaugh was asked about Larry Lage of the Associated Press asked Jim Harbaugh about DJ Durkin. He said DJ hadn't reached out and that he didn't want to talk about what was going on at any other program or with any other coach. So, but scenario. I mean, I see where you're going. If going along with the scenario, yeah, if there's a bunch of stuff that just piles on and it's got this long track record, then I think yeah, there'd be some backlash, and then yes, it would be fair to question Jim Harbaugh. Why did you have DJ Durkin on your staff if there's all this stuff? You know, I mean, I'm not saying that what happened at Maryland isn't horrible and that's not enough to know to question it, but at the same time, I don't think Harbaugh's going to say anything. About the backlash, I mean, yeah, again, if there's a ton of stuff that just makes Harbaugh look bad and makes DJ Durkin look really bad too, then I think that there will be some backlash. There'll be people wanting answers. Is Solomon a starter? Aubrey Solomon. I don't know if Aubrey's going to be a starter. Not sure. I mean, he's in there, I think, in the two deep. Definitely. Greg Ryan about the offensive line says, I ask, and this was the offensive line, defensive line depth comparison. He says, I asked because the center and guard spots are not as solid as we thought. With 7, 8 guys battling, we may have more depth than believed before. Depth, yeah, but I mean, if it, in terms of talent, though, I mean, there are two proven superstars on Michigan's defensive line, right? And then there's one, I think, Michael Dwumfor, who's got big potential, like Mo Hurst type potential. So that's why I go with the defensive line. But in terms of just depth, yeah, 7, 8 guys. I mean, offensive line's got some decent depth, and that's why I do believe it's going to turn the corner because you have, I mean, you have James Hudson in there. He's converted defensive lineman, working at one of the tackle spots. I think he's behind Juwan Bushell-Beatty if he's not number two, but I mean he's rotating in there at left tackle, and again, both he and Jalen Mayfield have rotated on both sides. I don't know. And I don't even know if Michigan's got it down pat to where it's like, okay, Runyon's right tackle, Juwan Bushell-Beatty is left tackle. I think from what I understand, what they're saying, those guys are rotating too. So Robert Protzman, what's more likely, Michigan in a blowout or Notre Dame in a blowout? Neither are likely, Robert. This is not going to be a blowout. For the sake of entertaining, if Notre Dame at home season opener, I could see a home team blowing out the road team in a season opener more than I could see the road team blowing out the home team in a season opener. So Cameron Clark says Notre Dame will lose by 50 because of those awful uniforms. They should be docked 50 for those are disgusting. Who saw? I tweeted saw it on Yahoo. They mixed the New York Yankees pinstripes with the Notre Dame. I mean, it's not more bandwagon fan than it gets. And you guys know the types. I mean, there are legitimate Notre Dame fans. There are legitimate Yankees fans. I mean, there's those type of Michigan fans. Ohio, any big major brand, you have those like the bandwagon fans. So for the ultimate fan who doesn't have a clue, wear this Yankees and Notre Dame jersey and look like a total fill in the blank, whatever you want to call it. I think it's stupid. They're putrid. You put and with the sleeves too, and it's like, are you guys you're celebrating what annual trips to the Pinstripe Bowl? I mean, I don't. They're disgusting. They look horrible. I don't know who approved those. If that was my call, no way. It would have never got past the sketch. I don't understand it. And you attach. I hate the New York Yankees. I can't say that I hate Notre Dame, but I do hate the New York Yankees, and I don't hate many teams. But I mean, you attach like New York Yankees and Notre Dame together, and that's just the ultimate no-go for me. Uh-uh. 5-6 seems you seem to think Michigan loses MSU based on your win-loss prediction. I don't know a ton about Michigan State, but Lewerke only passed for 94 yards against Michigan, won by just 4 despite +5 turnover margin. Yeah, no, I mean it was pretty bad weather. We've had this debate last year, and I mean Lewerke's pretty good. I mean, why wouldn't I think Michigan State beats Michigan? They've done it 8 out of the past 11 years. It's kind of it goes along with like the Ohio State thing. Michigan's beaten Ohio State 3 times in the past 18 years. I mean, it's really hard to predict wins. I did predict in 2016. I thought that Michigan would go to East Lansing and blow them out. It was closer. That was one year I thought that this is a done deal. Michigan's going to go in there and just have its way. So I mean, it's not like I don't think Michigan can beat Michigan State. I don't know if it's likely this year. I really don't. Michigan State's good. I think a lot of people aren't giving Michigan State some of the credit that it deserves. And it's at Michigan State this year too, October 20th, to be announced. So I mean, I don't have a lot of confidence predicting Michigan to be and again, I mean, there's three rivalry games. I think Michigan. I mean, to win two of three, that's a big deal. That's going to be kind of, I think, make or break the season. If we're looking back at the schedule and we go, okay, well, Michigan's a 10-win team, and go, okay, well, they beat two or three rivals, right there. That says a lot. I mean, it's a really difficult schedule. Sure, Woody 14 says, here's my hope. Michigan's offense is worth an added 10 points per game. The time of possession is worth 4 less points per game against the defense. That's a net average of 14 points and the positive average. I like that, Sure, Woody. That's smart stuff. I like that. I want to look more into it. I believe you. I want to look more into this. I'm going to read this again. This is really good. Here's my hope. Michigan's offense is worth an added 10 points per game. The time of possession is worth 4 less points per game against the D. That's a net of 14 points in the positive. Now, is this just your observation? Do you have some math to go with this? Because it sounds logical to me, and that's why I like it. Greg Ryan says Adam is a consummate pessimist. Always add one score and one win to each prediction. Greg, I'm not a pessimist. I'm logical. If you guys have been reading my stuff, my Michigan stuff, I mean, I've been pretty optimistic when it comes to Michigan, I think. I'm very sorry. I have a bunch of crap in my eyes. I'm very. I tend to be an optimistic person. I tend to be a positive person, but I know my limits. And I mean, Greg, it's hard for me. I cannot with Michigan's schedule. I mean, if anything more than 9 wins, I think is really good based on the schedule and based on the questions offensive line. And again, I mean, if Shea's the real deal, or whoever's at quarterback, Shea, if this offensive line is really improved, then 10 wins, okay. I'm not going to fight you on that, but I mean, there's too many ifs right there. I think with this schedule, I mean 8-4 wouldn't really be out of the question. I mean, honestly, if stuff kind of hits the skids, this offensive line isn't good, 8-4 the low mark. But I mean, I think 9-3 is fair. And again, 10 wins. I mean, I said the same thing last year. I mean, and if Wilton Spate was healthy, Michigan would have been a 10-win team last year. I'm pretty confident in saying that. So 10 wins, not impossible. 9 wins, I think, pretty good. 8 wins, that's, hey, something went wrong a little bit. That's the way I'm looking. Greg Ryan says a decent or even competent quarterback could have been the difference in 2 games last season. Now insert a decent quarterback with a better team. I mean, I get what you're saying there too, but you lost an All-American starting left tackle, Mason Cole. There are problems. The right side of the offensive line, there were problems last year. Quarterback wide receiver rhythm was an issue last year. Granted, different personnel. I see what you're saying, Greg. I'm not going to argue. Courage Ekwanye says, is the quarterback competition even close? Courage, I mean, I've heard yes, I've heard no. And I mean, and by close, was there competition? Like, okay, were guys pushing each other? Yeah, I believe that. Close as in terms of there was a legitimate debate on who is the top guy going into camp. I don't know. Greg Ryan said, I would say Michigan would blow Notre Dame out. It's easier to get your defense going than the offense, and we have the best defense in the business. Also, Jim knows we owe them for the 38-0 beatdown we took. Okay, but Greg, how is Michigan, if you can't get offense going, how is Michigan going to score points? Going on the road and blowing out a good team on the road season opener, to me, is far less likely. Now, maybe I want to go look up some stats and see if that's happened. How many times has it happened? But that's where I'm saying, Greg. I mean, I feel like I'm more logical. I don't think it's going to be a blowout at all. So, I mean, you brought up the blowout thing, right? So I'm playing along with the scenario. I think it's going to be low scoring defensive battle. Like I said, 24-20, 21-17, 20-17, something like that. But to me, a road team going on the road, season opener, and blowing out that home team is far less likely than the home team blowing out the visitor. Ford Masterful says, not why is the judge Lurkey off that game? Hate to say it, but he seems legit. Ford Masterful is welcome. He is. He is legit. Mr. Johnson says 27-10 Michigan. Guys, and yeah, game week, I'll offer the predictions, and to attach some sort of prize or something, I'll try to do something if you get it right. If not, you just get bragging rights, and you can tell me I was wrong if you get it or closer than me. I'm not. You can tell me I'm wrong. It's okay. It's not right all the time. Nathan Hartbarger says, any news? And what was it? You for Masterfuls? You said I was 65% accurate. Shame on you. I haven't forgotten that. That was funny. Nathan Hartbarger, hold on. He says, any news on if Michigan will come out in those badass alternate jerseys like they did against Florida season opener? If not the opener, I don't know. I can't say for I like those Mays jerseys actually. At first I wasn't a big fan of them. I very West Virginia-ish, but then I looked at them and I liked them. I would like it, not all Mays though. Got to have a little bit more blue in there, but I like them. I don't know if they're gonna. I don't know if they're gonna come out. And a lot of people were criticizing those Michigan uniforms. So if we see those Michigan uniforms versus those Notre Dame pinstripe monstrosities, ugh, Twitter's gonna puke. I don't mind Michigan's all maize jerseys. I like those. Greg Ryan says if it wasn't for a blocked punt, we would have beaten Michigan State at their absolute best. I mean, that's a good point. Michigan had that game won. That was Michigan's game. Any other questions, guys? We're going on, 48 minutes. I want to go make some lunch. I have some things to do before. Again, there'll be player availability tonight. Check out GreatLakesDivide.com for my latest. Always check out my YouTube channel. I have the player interviews and coach interviews and whatever else I could get on there. And again, follow me on Twitter at AdamBiggers81 and follow Great Lakes Divide on Twitter and Facebook at GL Divide. We'll have a podcast, audio only, with my co-host Ryan Schuling. He covers Michigan State. He does a great job. He's got his ear to the ground over there. So Ryan and I will be recording a podcast either tonight or tomorrow. So if you have any questions, and it's a little bit looser, I'm not saying it's not bad or anything, but it's definitely worth listening to. We kind of just freestyle it. We have an idea what we want to talk about. We don't, obviously it's not like bad language or anything. It's kind of like this, but maybe we'll talk about some other things a little bit. So I mean, it's kind of fun. So anyway, make sure you catch that. That'll be on GreatLakesDivide.com. So if there's one final question, I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to take the final question. Greg Ryan says, off topic, how about a meet and greet at Mr. Spots? I would love that, Greg. I'll run it by Tim and Keith at Mr. Spots. I talked to him, hoping to get something going back with those guys. I was kind of late, but I still go there, and I bumped into, as I was walking out of there the other day, bumped into Khalid Hill. He was always one of my favorite guys to interview. So, that'd be cool. I can't talk. I'm still very good friends with Mr. Spots. And, looking forward to doing something in the future. But as of right now, we don't have anything worked out. But so if Tim and Keith are watching, maybe Greg, your comment will help out. Ford Masterful says, I came too late. When will you go live again? Ford Masterfuls, I'll probably do one tomorrow because there's player availability tonight, so there'll be a lot to talk about. Generally, what I like to do is get the video, post the video right, and then do the live stream the next day. So that way, also in the live stream, I can plug what I wrote. So double duty there. But yeah, I'm planning on probably Saturday, sometime before noon, I would guess. So, and if you guys comment, let me know on Twitter. I mean, I try to do it when I have time, but I want to also do it when the regulars are available, and the ones who watch the show all the time want to pick good times. So give me windows, what kind of works, what doesn't, and we'll try to get on a regular schedule. I would like to, ideally say, okay, every Friday at noon is going to be a live stream. Every Monday at 4 p.m. is going to be a live stream because that gives me time to get home from the Monday press conference and get my stuff together. So anyway, any last questions? I'm blabbering here. Motor City Mike says, I know you can't discuss who the availability is, but they let you guys know who it's going to be, right? Yes. Tentatively. And 90% of the time it is who they tell us it's going to be. But sometimes the guy gets, has a meeting, he can't come, stuff stuff happens. Sometimes these guys are coming from class. So, they try their best to give them to us at the time that they say and who is going to be there. But yes, generally when they send us the email and say, okay, it's these guys scheduled, 90% of the time it is. So. For Masterful says, hey, Adam, let's call that hotline. What's the number again? I forgot. Well, yeah, hold on. We got to Google this. I'm going to put the link in here. We've had some really good ones, and the season hasn't even started yet. But we've had some really good oh man, yes, I'm putting the link in the live chat, guys. Just go back there and look. And this was honestly the most fun I think that I've had doing this. It's the Ohio State Therapy. And the phone number was 213-373-4253. You could call them to talk crap. And they'll answer the phone. They'll be like, yeah, what do you want, mother effer, And you could just sit there and talk, vent your frustration. That's what it's for. They want you to call and cuss them out. And they have a voicemail. So if you can't reach them on their voicemail, just, leave them a kind, courteous message with some 4-letter words in there and call it a day. Sometimes they answer. But I know you guys were blowing that hotline up last year. Yeah, before he said I died laughing, dude was so vulgar. It's fun. It's funny. Like I laugh every time I think about it. Well, hey guys, I got to get going. I got to do some things here. Probably mow my lawn too as well. So thanks again for watching. Follow me on Twitter at AdamBiggers81. Follow Great Lakes Divide at GL Divide on Facebook and Twitter. Working on getting iTunes up, so you'll be able to listen to the podcast and the audio from the live stream. So. Thanks for reading. I'll have some Michigan stuff tonight, videos on my YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share. And again, we're up like 200 subscribers since the start of camp. So those are good. Those are good. Shows a lot of people are getting interested, and of course a lot of the people who were here last year. So, oh, hold on, I caught this. Ford Masterful says, yes, I was wrong. You're about 80 to 85%. We're ending it on that. Let's go for Masterfuls. I like it. Ending on a high note, baby. It's like batting practice. You cannot walk away unless you drill one. So that was it. I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for watching. I'm Adam. I'll catch you next time. Have a good Friday.